And the first one we'll look at is what's called the cosmological argument. And this word comes from the idea of cosmos, or the universe. Now, I'm going to go ahead and read an excerpt from Wayne Grudem's systematic theology book, which describes it in this way. He says, every known thing in the universe has a cause. Therefore, it reasons the universe itself must also have a cause. And the cause of such a great universe can only be God.
So normally, we experience a cause preceding an effect. The inclination is that that is how it always happens. We could somewhat compare this to the flow of time. One unit of time precedes the next unit of time in an orderly fashion. And this would be the normal way that we experience time. But we do know that that's not always how time flows. Einstein, for instance, has proved that space and time are linked. Time would either speed up or slow down depending on the speed that you're going relative to some other object. Also, gravity can bend time. Time is therefore not some uniform phenomenon that is accurately represented by our normal experiences. In much the same way, cause and effect is not a uniform phenomenon that is accurately represented by our normal experiences. For example, radioactive decay gives us a really good way of measuring long time periods. The rate of decay for isotopes is constant and we know why they decay. What we don't know is what causes an individual atom in a sample to decay. For all we know, there is no discernible cause that would indicate which atom would decay next. Another example is on a quantum scale, the effects can precede the causes. This is especially significant because the inflation of our universe is best explained by the fluctuation of a quantum scalar field that moves from a false vacuum state to a true vacuum state. And when it does this, it releases an immense amount of energy that inflated the universe and transformed from inflaton particles into what would eventually become normal matter. After that point, the universe continued to expand. So my contention with a traditional cosmological argument is that not everything that exists necessarily has a cause. 2, I agree that something happened to inflate our universe, but because nature doesn't require a god in order to function, I think that it most likely happened naturally. 3, there's no logical reason to think that infinite regresses are impossible. And 4, the argument is ultimately just special pleading. The cosmological argument specially pleads that God didn't need a creator or didn't need a cause. And so therefore he is the ultimate cause for everything. Even if you grant that everything has a cause and we come to the conclusion that the universe has a cause, it would be a giant leap in logic to suppose that a god is that cause. And if everything requires a cause, why doesn't God require a cause? You see, you have to leap from the universe has a cause to God is that cause. You need to build a bridge using evidence that connects the beginning of the universe to God. Apologists simply never do this.
Now, let me just kind of break that down in layman's terms. Let's just say we have this phone right here. Well, as we look at this phone had to have a cause of some sort. Something had to cause this phone to be here, right? Or this cup right here, or these glasses right here. Something had to cause this to come into existence. And so if we keep tracing the cause back and say, okay, well, what caused the plastic to be on this set of glasses? Okay, then what caused the plastic to be able to be created? Or what caused the resistors in here to be able to be created? And we keep tracing that cause and that cause back to that cause. And who caused that? What caused that? We're basically going to end up with a universe with nothing in it except stars, sun, moon, or whatnot.
Right. We can trace everything back to the inflation of the universe, and beyond that, we don't know what happened. And that's okay. It also doesn't mean that the regress of causes stops right there. That's an assumption that apologists make. In this section, I feel like Allan has exposed his ignorance of the scientific explanation for the inflation of the universe. There was a period of about 300,000 years after the inflation of the universe of immense heat that permeated all throughout the known universe. It was so hot that not even light could travel through it. The subatomic particles did not form atoms until the universe was able to cool enough. Allan seems to indicate that this regress of causes only goes back to the formation of our solar system. That only takes us back about 4.5 billion years. There's another 9 billion years prior to that point.
And then at this point, we have two options. Option one, God caused the universe that we have today. If you get to that conclusion that God is the source and the cause of everything, then you've already gotten to the place that you need to be. Now, the other possibility in terms of how we got our universe is this idea of the Big Bang Theory. But then you're stuck there, because if you go with that route, then you have to come up with some sort of conclusion or explanation, if you will, on what caused the Big Bang. And then you have to come up with the explanation of who was the person who actually caused it.
This is basic begging the question. First, we have a more plausible explanation for the inflation of the universe. The universe doesn't need a creator any more than rain does. And just like rain, the inflation of the universe was a natural process. Assuming that there needs to be some conscious being in order for the inflation of the universe to happen only begs the question, because you're assuming the conclusion in the question. This is also a false dichotomy, because he presents it as either his God or a natural explanation. If we are going to include a God hypothesis, then you would also have to include all other creation hypotheses. God did it is no different than a snake vomiting out the universe, which is another creation myth. There isn't any evidence that either of them occurred. What we do have evidence for is a fluctuation in a quantum scalar field that inflated the entire universe.
And then who was the person who created the two things, or however many things that came together to make the Big Bang? And so if you keep tracing those things back, you'll ultimately get back to there has to be a cause for this. And that cause is God, who we call the uncaused cause.
Nobody caused the inflation of the universe. Allan is still just begging the question. And the way that Allan describes the Big Bang makes it sound like some caveman was banging two rocks together and then this happened.
Smoke weed every day.
This is such a bad understanding of the inflation of the universe. Our education system has obviously failed him.